Good morning and welcome to the Public Service Commission of South Carolina. We are here this morning in docket number 2022-142-WS, which is the application for approval to adjust rate schedules and increase rates filed by Daufuskie Island Utility Company Incorporated. We are here this morning for a public hearing to hear from customers of the utility. Let's take a roll call of commissioners to begin. Present in the hearing room, we have Vice Chair Powers and Chair Belser. With us virtually, we have Commissioners Thomas, Commissioner J. Williams, Commissioner C. Williams, Commissioner Caston, and Commissioner Irvin. Let's take appearances from the parties. For Daufuskie Island Utility Company Incorporated, do we have a representative?
Good morning, Madam Commissioner. This is Tom Gressett on behalf of the applicant. I consulted with my client last week about attendance at this hearing, and our decision was to allow the proceeding to move forward without attendance, but I'm also happy to remain on the line. That's
a bit unusual, but that is whatever y'all decide to do. I'm not going to make you attend if you don't want to, but let us know if you're going to participate or not.
I'm happy to remain on the line if that's all right.
Can you call in because right now somebody's having to hold a microphone over their personal telephone can you call into the proceeding on the number that was given?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
Do you have that number?
I do not know if I have it.
Well, I'm going to finish appearances and we'll give you a call-in number.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Boyd, can you see about getting a call-in number for Mr. Gressett? Is there a representative from the Department of Consumer Affairs?
Yes, good morning, Madam Chairman. Roger Hall, Deputy Consumer Advocate with the Department.
Good morning, Mr. Hall. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a representative from Hague Point Club and Community Association? Do not hear anyone from interveners. Also, I think the interveners were also the POAs for Bloody Point and Hague Point, I believe.
Yeah, my name's John Donaldson, and I'm here as a witness for the people of the island, or for about the Daufuskie Island Utility Company and some issues there.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Donaldson. I was trying to see if the council who had noted an appearance of in the proceeding was on the line, but we will get to you in just a moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And is there a representative from the Office of Regulatory Staff?
Good morning, Madam Vice Chair, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, and members of the Commission. My name is Chris Huber. I'm here as counsel for the Office of Regulatory Staff. I have just a few opening remarks at the appropriate time.
Okay.
Wherever the Commission would like to hear those.
Mr. Huber, let me see if we have gotten a number for Mr. Gressett this morning.
So, Madam Chair, one of our live stream producers is going to email Mr. Gressett the WebEx invitation again, and the number is within that email for him to call.
Thank you. Mr. Gressett, can you hear me?
Yes, Madam Chair. I apologize for all this confusion.
Mr. Gressett, did you hear what our Chief Clerk, Jocelyn Boyd, just said, that you will be getting an email?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go ahead with Mr. Huber. He has to be recognized for some remarks. Mr. Huber, you may remain seated if you're more comfortable there. That's fine. Wherever you're most comfortable.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And may I ask, just for clarification, in the past of these hearings, Commission staff has given some instructions for the process of the hearing. Would Madam Chair like ORS to go through those instructions, or?
You can go ahead. Staff will. I think Mr. Bachman is going to provide some information to the witnesses as well. But whatever you're comfortable with.
Okay. Good morning. I'm going to spend a few minutes just explaining the process for the hearing this morning. Again, my name is Chris Huber, and I'm an attorney for the South Carolina Office of Regulatory Staff. You'll hear the Office of Regulatory Staff referred to by its acronym ORS. The Public Service Commission is hosting this hearing this morning. The agency I work for, ORS, is a separate agency from the Public Service Commission. The commission is charged with making the final decision on Daufuskie Island Utility Company's application. ORS is charged with representing the public interest and making recommendations to the commission. The hearing today is for you, the consumer, to share your thoughts about Daufuskie Island Utility Company's request to increase its rates. The commission scheduled this hearing because they know it is a significant matter and they want to hear from you. What you have to say is important. Please know that if you speak today, what you say becomes part of the official record in the case. Your testimony will be sworn and recorded by the court reporter, The commission will keep in mind what you say when they deliberate and make a decision. All the parties will present testimony and evidence to the commission during the merits hearing, which will be held beginning at 10 a.m. on Wednesday, October 26, 2022. If you speak today, I may ask you some questions. The attorneys for the other parties may ask you questions. The commissioners may also ask you questions. Please do not get offended if we do. It is simply because we want to learn more about what you're saying. On the other hand, please do not get offended if we do not ask you questions. Today is primarily about hearing what you have to say. As to the commission, the commissioners and commission staff are required to follow the same rules as a judge. So while the commission can ask you questions, they cannot answer questions. They're prohibited by law from answering questions. So please do not get offended or frustrated if you state questions during your testimony and no one answers. If you would like to contact our agency later, that agency is ORS. ORS has a 1-800 number for consumer services. That number is 1-800-922-1531. Our staff is available from 8:30 to 5 p.m. Please remember that we're all here to listen to you today. During your 3-minute or other allotment of time the commission allows you, you'll be treated with courtesy and respect. In return, please be considerate and respectful to the commission as you direct your remarks to them. And thank you to everyone for being here, and thank you for your attention during these opening remarks. Madam Chair, I would ask that the sign-in sheet for today's hearing be entered into the record as a hearing exhibit.
Counsel of the parties, any objection for the sign-in sheet being marked for his hearing exhibit number 1 and received into evidence?
No objection.
I'm not sure who that was.
I apologize. This is Tom Gressett.
Thank you, Mr. Gressett. Mr. Hall?
No objection.
Thank you. The sign-in sheet for today will be marked for identification as hearing exhibit number 1 and received into evidence.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Huber. Mr. Gressett, it sounds like we have you on the line now. Any comments?
None at this time, Your Honor. Again, I apologize for the confusion.
Thank you, Mr. Gressett.
Thank you for allowing us to participate.
Thank you. Mr. Bachman, you have our list of witnesses and any remark and any instructions.
I do indeed have the list. Mr. Huber covered the remarks comprehensively, so I'll just note that we will ask you to be sworn in by telling us that the testimony you're about to give will represent the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. At that point, we ask that you clearly state your name, the name of the street, but not your full street address, simply the name, and whether you are a customer of the utility company in question, which is Daufuskie Island Utility Company Incorporated. After you provide that information, you may begin your testimony. We do ask that you please remain on the line once your 3 minutes have elapsed, as the commissioners may have questions for you following your testimony. Our first witness this morning is Adam Jones. Adam Jones on the line. Mr. Jones, can you hear me?
Good morning.
Excellent. Mr. Jones, if you would please affirm that the testimony you're about to give represents the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
That is correct. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Will you please provide the commission with your name, your street name, but not your full address, and whether you are a Daufuskie Island Utility Company customer.
Yes, good morning. Adam Jones on behalf of Castlegate Ventures, owner of a property on River Road on Daufuskie Island. And I am a customer of the utility services.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. You may begin your testimony. You will have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Yeah, good morning, commissioners and other representatives. Thanks for allowing me to come and present to you today. The concern that I have with the proposed increase is really specific to my ownership. My property does not have an improvement upon it, and therefore I only enjoy the availability of utilities that might be used in the future should I decide to construct an improvement upon the property. Therefore, I feel that the proposed increase is unjustified. To my knowledge, there's been no substantial change to the infrastructure that is installed along River Road, and therefore, while understanding that perhaps this requested increase could be related to inflationary factors or otherwise, I see no justification that the charges for availability of utilities should be increased at the same rate as other actual service utilities. So that's all I have at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Questions from Mr. Gressett?
No, ma'am, Commissioner.
Mr. Hall?
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Huber?
No questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Jones?
Madam Chair,
Vice Chair Powers?
thank you. Mr. Jones, thank you for participating this morning. You said you have constructed no improvements. I guess you mean you hadn't built a house. Do you have a dock or anything that's serviced by the utility at all on your property?
No, sir. I do not have, and you're correct, I don't have a house or any other type of improvement that actually uses utilities. And I also do not have a dock or any water type construction.
Do you have any sort of utility pole or anything on the property at all?
I don't believe so. Last time I was there, I haven't been out there in a while, but to my knowledge, I do not.
When you bought the property, did you have to pay some sort of tap fee to hook in?
No, sir. I do not recall having to pay any type of connection fee. And as far as I recall, there was no connection fees or otherwise. I was a little bit surprised that there's a charge for availability of utilities, but I understand that might be to recoup previous infrastructure installation costs.
So was there at some point a house on the property?
No, sir. To my knowledge,
Okay.
There's never been a house or other type of improvement on the property. It's just a raw piece of land, a lot in Bloody Point.
So you're paying a fee and not using the services at all in any manner?
That is correct, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Vice Chair Powers. Commissioners, any further questions for Mr. Jones?
Chairman Belser?
Commissioner Carolee Williams?
Thank you, Chairman Belser. Thank you for being with us, Mr. Jones. We appreciate it. You may feel like you've been abundantly clear, but I want to make it even clearer. You're paying a monthly fee for the availability of this service. Is that true?
That is correct.
Okay. I'm wondering if that is the residential base fee that we can see in the proposed rates. Can you confirm that?
I don't I don't have it in front of me, but as I recall, there were 3 lines, and I believe, yes, that is correct. It is perhaps called that.
Thank you very much for the clarifications.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams. I think I heard Commissioner Caston.
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to ask a question if I may.
Please go ahead.
Mr. Jones, in response to the question relative to a tap fee, you don't recall having paid one, but do you know if there is an existing meter or meter box on the property?
No, sir. There is no meter box. As I recall, I don't believe there's a pole alongside my property either. But yeah, there's no type of infrastructure there that I recall. And just to clarify, I've always assumed this was for water pipe that might be installed below ground, but that was just an assumption.
Okay, so I think that area, I don't know for sure, but I think that I don't know about the pole. I suspect they're underground service for electric, but so do you know if there is, so you're saying there isn't a meter or meter box on the property, correct?
That is correct.
So do you know if in the, I guess in your deed or when you buy the property, is that, I guess, kind of part of it that you automatically are, I guess, responsible for the utility, whether you have the meter or not?
I don't recall that being part of the deed. I guess what I would say about that is that, again, I think my original statement would still be enforced that even if there were such equipment installed upon the property, I don't understand why that equipment would justify a higher rate just because the actual utility service is going up. So, but to I don't recall anything in the deed about that equipment.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jones.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any further questions?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Irvin, before you begin, Commissioner, may I confirm? I understand that Mr. Pringle is now on the line for the interveners. Is that correct, Mr. Pringle?
Madam Chair and Commissioners, I am indeed. I have just joined. I apologize for arriving late, as it were, but I am here and participating on behalf of the POAs.
Thank you. Sorry for the interruption, Commissioner Irvin. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Jones, are you getting a monthly bill from the utility?
Yes, sir. Well, it's quarterly, sir. I get a quarterly bill.
Do you recall how much the bill is quarterly?
I believe it's around 200. I'm going to round to about $250. It's substantial, as I recall. I could look it up if records.
While you're looking, have you been paying that fee for some time now, since you own the property?
Yes, sir. About a year or so. Let's see here. Okay. It looks like, well, this one's back last fall, but the service dates of October 2021 to January 2022, which represents a 3-month period, I paid $146.01 for sewer availability and $112.23 for water availability, which totaled $258.24. And again, that's only for sewer and water availability. So I think that kind of clarifies the earlier questions about electrical services. I don't see anything mentioned there about electrical services. So I'm assuming that's for the pipes that were installed some time back to be able to provide water or sewer services if I were to build a house or something and tie into those services.
Does that amount remain the same in the quarterly billing?
It does. It's just billed for a quarter, and I don't believe I could look. I think I have one other one. Where is it? Yeah, here's the most recent one I just found. Yeah, yes, sir. It looks like as of the second quarter of this year for 2022, the amount was the same, $258.24 total.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Irvin. Commissioners, any further questions? Mr. Jones, thank you for your testimony this morning. We appreciate you taking the time to participate in the hearing.
Chair Belzer.
Commissioner Carolee Williams.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor, one final question. You were looking at your most recent bills and you talked about availability as in associated with each of the amounts for sewer and water. Is that what it is called on the bill? What is the notation beside those dollar amounts?
Yes, the only description, you're correct. There's 2 line items. One is referred to in the description as sewer availability, and the second line item is described as water availability.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the clarification.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Thank you very much for your participation this morning. You may stand down as a witness, and you can log off if you desire, or you can continue to listen. It's at your pleasure.
Thank you.
Mr. Bachman.
Our next witness is John Donaldson. Mr. Donaldson, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Good morning, sir. If we would please get you to affirm that the testimony you're about to give represents the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, it will.
Thank you, sir. Please give the commission your name, your street name, but not your full address, and whether you are a Daufuskie Island Utility Company customer.
My name's John Donaldson. Street name is Masters Drive, but the property I represent on this call is Fuskie Lane, and I am a customer of DIUC.
Thank you, sir. You may now begin your testimony. You will have 3 minutes.
Yes, back in early September, I was approached by Representative DIUC.
Chair Belzer.
Commissioner Williams.
I apologize for interrupting, Mr. Donaldson. Could you turn your video on so that we can see you as you testify? We are currently not seeing it on for those of us that are remote.
There we go. Thank you, Commissioner Williams. Thank you, Mr. Donaldson.
No problem at all.
Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. So back in early September, I was approached by members of DIUC. They wanted to meet with me. I worked for the gentleman who purchased all of Bloody Point on Daufuskie Island, which used to be a resort. I'm his estate manager, managing all of his affairs there. I didn't know initially why they wanted to meet with me. After we sat down and met, I found out that there's a pump house that's on our property. It's unclear who owns the pump house, and it's also unclear as to whether or not they have a legal easement on that pump house. However, approximately 4 years ago, the pump house failed. And what the pump house was used for is DIUC has a treatment plant up off of Pappy's Landing Road. And what happens is all of the waste, sewer waste from Bloody Point and from Oak Ridge is pumped to this treatment plant. And in turn, DHEC has given DIUC a permit to pump that back down to this pump house on Bloody Point's property. And it was used initially to distribute water onto the golf course. And as I said, that pump house failed 3 years ago. Since then, DIUC has continued to pump the waste material into a lagoon on Bloody Point's property. It in turn goes out to Mungin River, which eventually winds up in the Atlantic Ocean. The DIUC does charge Bloody Point residents as well as Oak Ridge residents a fee for this service that they're providing, which obviously, by their own admission, they said sitting in my office that they know they're knowingly violating a DHEC permit because they know that that waste is not being put back onto the golf course like their permit requires them to do. The reason they wanted to meet with me is they want to know if we would be willing to either pay for or share the cost of repairing the pump station. And the best estimate I could get from the gentleman I was meeting with was in the neighborhood of $150,000 to repair that pump station. And just for the record, that meeting did occur on September 12th. Obviously, my concern is the service that they're providing doesn't seem to me to be at a level that's acceptable when they know that they're treating this water and sending it back down and it's winding up in the Atlantic Ocean.
Mr. Donaldson, does that conclude your testimony?
Yes, I'm sorry, it does, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Questions from any of the parties?
Madam Chairman, I have a brief question.
Who's speaking, please?
Sorry, Roger Hall, Department of Consumer Affairs.
Mr. Hall, please go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Donaldson. My name is Roger Hall. I'm an attorney with the South Carolina Department of Consumer Affairs. We intervene in these utility matters to represent the interests of consumers. One, thank you for your time today. I'd just like a little bit of clarification. You're saying you represent these, maybe the gentleman who bought, was it Bloody Point? What property are you referring to?
Yes, it's the Bloody Point property. It used to be a golf course and a resort on Daufuskie Island that I guess it failed. I'm not sure how long ago. I believe in the neighborhood of 8 years ago.
And do you know, just asking about the pump house you mentioned, does that pump house service that property, or is it just in particular anymore? You said for the golf course irrigation. I'm just trying to understand if it's a separate property now.
It's my understanding that that pump house, which I didn't work there when it was operational, but talking to people who did, that pump house, its only purpose was to distribute the treated water onto the golf course.
Okay, and that's still the same property that you're referring to that you represent the owner?
Yes.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Any further questions from any party? Hearing none, will
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Thomas.
Commissioner Thomas.
Thank you. So, Mr. Donaldson, is the golf course still open?
No, sir, it is not.
Okay. That's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Donaldson?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Caston.
For Mr. McDonald, the pump station in the lagoon that is on Bloody Point property, that's what you said, correct?
That is correct, yes, sir.
And it sounds like the treatment was for, I guess, reclaimed water for irrigation of the golf course. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. But to clarify, the treatment station itself is not on the property, just the pump station.
All right, the lagoon is off of Bloody Point property, but the pump station is on Bloody Point property.
No, sir. The lagoon is on Bloody Point property as well as the pump station. The treatment facility itself is off of Bloody Point property.
So the lagoon, if you know the answer to this, is like an equalization basin. It's not really a treatment process, or is that where they are storing the treated water and pumping it from there to the golf course?
No, sir. It's my understanding, once again, talking with the gentleman from Daufuskie Island Utility Company, it used to be pumped directly through that pump onto the golf course. After the pump station failed, they began to pump it into the lagoon, and that's what they've been doing for 3.5 to 4 years.
Okay, it has, do you know if DHEC is aware of the current situation?
I do not know, no, sir.
In the meeting you had with DIUC was, you said September 12th, 2022, this year?
Yes, sir.
And you probably already answered this, but I'm trying to understand, the lagoon and or the pump station, are they specifically serving Bloody Point property, or is that used for the utility elsewhere?
Okay, so the lagoon is basically, it's a pond like you would see on any golf course. That's what its function was. They just happened to decide to pump the water in there. The pump station sits alongside that, but there's no connection between the two that means anything.
So the lagoon is basically a supply for the pump station to irrigate what was the golf course. Is that
No,
correct?
sir. No, the lagoon didn't distribute water. It's nothing. It's just a body of water that's sitting there that they elected to begin to pump the waste into because it was convenient sitting there. There's a pump station that's sitting near it, and the pump station, the pump house, that pump is what they would pump into and send it out. So it was just a continuous move. In other words, the pump would draw it from the waste treatment facility and put it right out onto the golf course. The lagoon just happened to be sitting there. The waste did not go to the lagoon first, in other words.
Okay. And to your knowledge, DHEC hasn't been contacted by anyone that you're aware of?
Not to my knowledge, no, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Donaldson. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Caston. Commissioners, further questions for Mr. Donaldson?
Just one.
Vice Chair Powers.
Thank you. Mr. Donaldson, when you met with Kiowa and you say they told you that they felt like they were in violation of DHEC, did they tell you not to report it, or did you not feel an obligation to report it, or did they say they hadn't reported it?
So if I can clarify, I'm not sure what Kiowa is. I don't know if that was or is DHEC.
No, I mean Daufuskie, I'm sorry.
Okay, no, that's quite all right. I just wanted to make sure I understood. I knew that there was going to be a hearing go on, and so myself personally, I elected just to wait and see how this hearing went, and then I was going to consult with Mr. Pringle and see what he feels we should do next, since he's representing the body of people on the island here.
Okay, thank you very much.
Commissioners, any further questions?
Chair Belzer, this is Commissioner Williams.
Commissioner Williams?
Thank you. Mr. Donaldson, one question. Do you know if the lagoon was person-made and what the purpose of the lagoon was?
I do not know for a fact. I could only speculate. It was put in when they put in the golf course, and it's just part of the golf course. It's just a pond like you see on any golf course.
And are you testifying that do you know if its purpose was ever intended to be for treatment of sewage?
I can tell you that I asked the Daufuskie Island Utility Company representative a similar question, if that pond was supposed to be used for that, and he said it was not. It was simply supposed to be pumped to the pump station and onto the golf course.
Thank you, Mr. Donaldson. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams. Mr. Donaldson, do you have you identified the representative from Daufuskie Island Utilities that you met with?
I have not.
Do you have his name or her name?
Yes, I do. I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean to. I wasn't trying to avoid the question. It was Eric Johansson.
Okay. Was it only one person?
Yes, ma'am. There was one person in there.
And do you know what Mr. Johansson's role is with Daufuskie Island Utilities?
I believe there's 4 or 5 people on the island who work for Daufuskie Island Utility Company, and he supervises all of them.
Okay. And you indicated that you are the property manager for the owner of property at Bloody Point. What is the status of Bloody Point? Has that gone into bankruptcy?
No, ma'am. It was at one time. The gentleman who purchased it about a year and a half ago. And he's just rebuilding certain parts of it for his friends and family to come visit.
Okay. So is this like the common areas with the golf course and places like that, or are these individual lots for home sites?
Okay, he purchased the golf course, the old clubhouse. There was a thing called the Osprey House, which has 7, like lack of a better way of putting it, cottages inside of it. The swimming pool area, the tennis courts, and he does own 3 different lots, as well as a private residence on Fusky Lane on the ocean side.
But primarily the property that you're speaking of today would have been kind of, for lack of a better term, the common areas that people would have enjoyed through membership or whatever.
Yes, that's correct.
And okay, thank you very much, Mr. Donaldson. We certainly appreciate your testimony this morning. You may stand down. You're welcome to continue listening, or you may leave at your pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll be leaving. I'll be available by phone if anybody needs me. I have a meeting I have to attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Donaldson. Mr. Bachman, please call the next witness.
Our next witness is Tanya Crabtree. Ms. Crabtree, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Good morning. If you would please affirm that the testimony you are about to give represents the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Will you please provide the commission with your name, your street name, but not your full address, and whether you are a Daufuskie Island Utility Company customer?
Yes, my name is Tanya D. Crabtree. I live on Welcome Breeze Court, and I am a customer of DIC.
Thank you, Ms. Crabtree. You may begin your testimony. You will have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I just wanted to provide some commentary related to the increase of the fees for water for myself and some of my neighbors. So I have lived in the Melrose subdivision for 5 years. When we first moved to the island, I know that there was a temporary hold on some increases in fees that hadn't gone into effect, and I think they did go into effect a couple of years ago. I am also the president of the ARB for Melrose. I think most people know that the Melrose Resort has not been functioning for a number of years. The land that my house is on is not owned by the resort. However, we pay resort water rates. And I guess that what took me aback about the fee increase, number one, is the amount that it is proposing to increase. And number two, I wonder what happens to all the money that's being collected on all of the lots within Melrose, that where people aren't actually using water. The water access fee is the same amount or almost the same amount as the water that, the minimum amount that my household uses. And I'm just wondering where all that money goes to, because they're not using a drop of water, which means, they're not consuming, nor is anything going into the sewer system from all of these lots that continue to pay roughly about $1,600 a year. I know that, Melrose has roughly 250 lots. There's only 50 houses here. And I know Hague Point is a lot larger, but again, they're still getting dollars on lots that have not been built upon as a water access fee. So I think that there seems to be a lot of money coming in, but I don't really see a whole lot of infrastructure that has changed or that has been improved even since the last rate hike. And that was what they stated they needed to do, was to improve infrastructure. I don't think that myself or any of the folks in Melrose have really seen any improvements. In fact, we have a water leak going on right now at the intersection of Masters Drive and Masters Court. It has been leaking water for at least a year. I do not know how the site was damaged, but it has not been fixed. And so every second there is water leaking, costing somebody money, probably, obviously going to be costing me money because it has not been taken care of. And so that's really the extent of my comments that I had for today, is just coming from, the average consumer.
Ms. Crabtree, thank you for your testimony. Please hold for a moment to see if there are any questions for you. Any questions from the parties?
Madam Chair, this is Chris Huber for ORS. I just have a couple of questions for Ms. Crabtree.
Mr. Huber, please go ahead.
Ms. Crabtree, first, thank you for your testimony today. And can you please explain the leak you were describing a minute ago a little bit more?
There's a water, I think it's a water pump in that particular area where Masters, this is within the Melrose subdivision, but where Masters Drive and Masters Court come together. And it has been leaking for the past year.
Thank you. Have you notified Daufuskie of the issue, Daufuskie Utility of the issue?
I personally have not, but I know that the Melrose POA board has.
Thank you, Ms. Crabtree. That's all the questions I have.
Thank you, Mr. Huber. Counsel for parties, any further questions for Ms. Crabtree before we get to commissioners?
None from the utility. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, questions for Ms. Crabtree? Ms. Crabtree, if I could ask a couple of clarifying questions, please.
Sure.
You stated you're president of, was it ARB? Could you tell me what that is?
The Architectural Review Board.
Thank you very much.
So I help enforce our rules and of course talk with people that are looking to purchase lots to buy on or build.
Okay, thank you.
So.
And I think you also stated that you pay resort water rates.
Yes.
Tell me what you mean by resort water rates.
Well, when I moved here, we were very surprised. No one really tells you how much you're going to pay for water. And so when we got the first bill, we were like, oh my goodness. And so we were told that, prior to us moving here, they had, South Carolina had let the water company charge the planned communities resort water rates, which are much higher than an average individual. So on top of the $400 or almost $500 a quarter that we pay for water and sewer, that's the minimum. So I live here with my husband. We don't even come close to the minimum charge every quarter. And then again, everyone who even owns a lot within Melrose pays that same amount as an access fee, even though they're not consuming or discharging any water.
Okay, and when when you now, and your bill is based on, it's issued quarterly, is that correct? So your bill covers 3 months, is that right?
Yes, it covers 3 months.
Okay. And you talked about the access fee. I think the term that we typically use is availability fee. Is that the same thing those are lots that don't have a home on them, but they're paying the availability fee? Is that what you're referring to?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to clarify, make sure I was understanding.
Sure.
Commissioners, further questions for Ms. Crabtree?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Caston?
Thank you. Ms. Crabtree, just to follow up on the question Attorney Huber had about the leak, and is it, how can you tell it's a leak? I know that sounds silly, but.
Well, there's water coming out of there, and it hasn't always been that way. Like I said, I've lived here for 5 years, so I can tell you, it didn't used to do that, and they were notified about it the last time. And there was probably a year and a half ago, there was another issue with, I think a pipe got run over or something on a property, and it took them a very long time to fix it. But this particular one that's been leaking for the past year has never been fixed, and it continues to leak every second.
All right, so you can literally see water either bubbling up out of the ground or, okay. And when you say for over a year, you know that it's been over a year, you distinctly remember based on.
I do not know exactly when it started. And when I had heard about it, it really was like it was through the grapevine that we had this issue, because I don't go down to that area, often, but it continues to leak. It has not been fixed.
All right, but to your knowledge, it's been leaking for some time.
Yes.
Good enough. Thank you, Ms. Crabtree. I appreciate it very much.
Welcome.
Commissioners, further questions?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Justin Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Ms. Crabtree.
Good morning.
Thank you for taking your time to testify before the commission today. Is this your first time testifying?
It is.
What compelled you to come forward and testify today?
Well, I just know that I feel like from what we're being charged today, and knowing that the basis of why, water rates went up so high the last time they asked for an increase, and we haven't seen any changes in infrastructure and any better water quality. I mean, actually, there was some water pressure testing done in the spring, and we had water coming out of our toilets. I mean, they do these kinds of things, and they don't tell people. And I do know that I think one person they had to work with, because their toilet literally sucked it. The water came all the way through their ceiling, and they replaced that. They worked with someone to replace that. But I see no changes. If everything was in working order and it looked like things were being improved, maybe people wouldn't be as taken aback by the increase in rates, or even, somewhat of an increase. But like I said, I've lived here 5 years. I don't see any changes. Things, I think it's interesting to me that the availability water fee is nearly the same amount that I pay. And, again, we don't use near the amount of water that the minimum is. And then you see things that are leaking and things that aren't working correctly, and it takes so long to fix. But what are they doing to keep that from happening in the future? I haven't seen anything, changing to make improvements so those types of things don't happen.
Thank you for sharing that, ma'am. I'm curious about the availability fee and owners of unimproved lots. Do you know whether or not potential buyers are made aware of the availability fee and an estimate of how much that is before they purchase a lot?
So anyone that has personally asked me, I have told them, a rough figure. I do not know if they're working directly with a realtor. I hope that's being disclosed. It wasn't disclosed to us, so I don't know that every realtor is disclosing that information. But everyone that lives within a planned community here on the island, or that uses the water outside of those that use a well, they do know. I mean, everybody's paying the same amount. So,
considering all the places that you could have moved 5 years ago, you would have known how much you would be charged for water. Do you think you and your husband still would have purchased the current property?
I think so. I mean, I think we wanted to be here more than, and we knew it was going to cost us a little more. And we live on an island. Everything's going to cost a little bit more, but it seems like the water costs a whole lot more than everything else does.
Thank you for your testimony, ma'am. No further questions, Madam Chair.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams. Commissioners, anything further from Ms. Crabtree?
Chair Belser, this is Commissioner Williams.
Commissioner Williams?
Ms. Crabtree, thank you again for being here. You testified that the availability fee and the minimum fee were about the same. Can you tell me more about that? I think you also testified that you're paying $400 to $500. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but if you could kind of talk some more about what you're paying for the minimum fee and what you know about the availability fee.
Yeah, I don't have the rates in front of me. I meant to print that out, but I'm pretty sure that we pay about $4.69 a quarter. And I believe the availability fee is again, I don't know if it's $4.69, but it's pretty close to that. And I know this because we were looking to possibly buy the lot next to us. But when you think of, and just for some extra space, right? Not that we were necessarily going to build on it, but then the biggest thing you have to take into account, other than, your mortgage or however you're going to pay for that said lot, then you're like, do I really want to pay $1,600 a year for water that I'm not using? And so for us to look at that second lot, it was like, maybe if we could get the homeowner on the other side of that lot, maybe we could split it. That makes it a little bit easier. And, it's still a lot of money, but certainly less in paying that water availability fee.
Thank you. I appreciate the clarification and the information and your time. Thanks again.
Yep, you're welcome.
Anything further for this witness?
Madam Chair, could I ask one more question, if I may?
Commissioner Caston.
Ms. Crabtree, I want to make sure I understand it. In response to Commissioner Carolee Williams, you're pretty sure it's $469 a quarter. Did you say that was the availability fee, whether it's used or not used?
Well, that's the minimum fee that I'm charged per quarter, regardless of whether I meet that. So if I meet the threshold, then I'm charged additional dollars if my usage goes above the minimum. So usually, I mean, it's been very rare in the past 5 years that we've ever met that, even when my daughter was living at home. So.
Thank you. What I'm trying to understand, a previous witness, I think, said his quarterly bill in their lot it's not used was like around $258 a month, and yours is $469. I was trying to understand what the difference was. Are you paying like a commercial rate or something? When you said you were in the resort, I'm trying to understand the distinction. Why yours is $469 and his was $258.
Yeah, I would love to know that too. I mean, I was told that we pay resort water rates here in Melrose. So, and you know, I can definitely, I know that there was a rate sheet that was circulated with the information on how to register for this call. So I can definitely, if someone wants to give me their email address, I can email it to the email address for it to be submitted. My apologies. I thought you guys were already made aware of what the rate increases were, and that same sheet kind of it outlines what each fee is for and how much it's going up.
Understand. All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Crabtree.
Ms. Crabtree, this is Commissioner Belser. Let me just see if I can clarify something on your bill. Do y'all have irrigation? Are you using water for irrigation?
Oh, no. The irrigation costs more money. That's separate. That's separate from the regular water, and that's more expensive than just using water to shower and do your dishes.
So we do
not use that.
You do not have an irrigation system tied into the Daufuskie Island utility system. Is that correct?
It's probably tied into it, but we do not use it because we used it once and we got a crazy bill.
Okay.
So we've never used it since then.
So when you get your bill, the bill really has a line item for water use or base charge, sewer base charge, and then is there a separate commodity charge or is that included into the water charge? Do you know?
There is no separate charge. So if I'm being charged for irrigation, I do not know about it.
No, that would be a separate line item, but you would have a line item for water charge that would probably include the base charge and the usage charge as well, and the same thing on the sewer. Your bill should have a meter reading to show the usage. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And we don't go above the minimum, so there's just one line.
Okay.
For one line for water, one line for sewer.
Thank you. And you mentioned a notice that was circulated about today's hearing. Was that the notice that was published by this commission, or was that something that Melrose Place property owners may have done?
No, it was actually out in the community, so it was posted to next door. So
Okay.
I'm assuming that it was what the commission published.
Then we have that, but thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anything further from Ms. Crabtree? Ms. Crabtree, we certainly appreciate your time this morning and your testimony. Thank you. And you can stand down as a witness, you may continue to listen, or you may sign off, whichever your pleasure. But thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate you giving me the time. I'll be signing off as I work remotely. So
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Mr. Bachman, our next witness, please.
Our next scheduled witness is Dr. Wallace Watson. We have no Dr. Watson on the line, so we're going to move to our next witness, Scott Smith. Can you hear me, Scott Smith?
Yes.
Good morning, Mr. Smith. If you would please affirm that the testimony you're about to give represents the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, it is.
Thank you, sir. Please give the commission your name, your street name, but not your full address, and whether you are a Daufuskie Island Utility Company customer.
My name is Scott Smith. I own a cottage at 131 Avenue of Oaks, Daufuskie Island, and I am a customer of the utility.
Thank you, sir. You may begin your testimony. You will have 3 minutes.
Thank you for hearing my testimony today. I'm Vice President of the Melrose Cottage Owners Association, and I think what I present today is critical to the Commission's decision regarding the matter concerning the Daufuskie Island Utility Company docket 22-142-WS. My testimony today is based on the review of the following documents: Daufuskie Island Utility Company's complete rate proposal, South Carolina Rural Infrastructure Authority 2021 Municipal Water and Sewer Rate Summary, direct testimony of Dan Hunnell, South Carolina Public Service Commission, direct testimony of Dan Sullivan, South Carolina Public Service Commission, and the direct testimony of Elizabeth McClung, South Carolina Public Service Commission. Our Board of Directors is opposed to the rate increase. As a matter of fact, our board and members were shocked by the size of the proposed rate increase of 47.8% for water service and 44.8% for sewer service. Our board is requesting that the company's submittal be summarily rejected and refiled by the Commission. The company's justification of these rates is questionable, especially considering testimony provided by experts from the South Carolina Public Service Commission, Daniel Sullivan, Dan Hunnell, and Elizabeth McClung. There are numerous areas where information that was used to support the rate increase was overstated, inaccurate, or incomplete. As a result, the Commission should reject the entire application and require the company to refile, correcting mistakes found in the document and complete the additional recommendations made by the state. I've included in my testimony today a few items that support our position regarding the proposed rate increase. Ms. McClung was asked, are either of the company's pro forma 2022 capital structure or company's actual capital structure for the test year reasonable? Her response was no. The company's proposed pro forma capital structure is not reasonable and should be rejected by the Commission. Ms. McClung had many more similar findings in her testimony. Mr. Hunnell was asked, has the Commission previously addressed how utilities should account for the reduced federal tax rate established by TCJA? His response was, witness Sullivan reviewed the effects of TCJA and determined that since January 1st, 2018, the IUC has charged customers $384,287 of excess corporate income tax expense, as shown in Exhibit DFS-9. The IUC received a substantial monetary benefit from its overcollection of tax expense. Since January 1st, 2018, the company collected an amount of excess tax expense from its customers and has used those funds interest-free for a period of 4 years. The collection of excess tax expense represents an extraordinary and substantial non-reoccurring reduction of DIUC's tax expense that should be flowed back to the company's customers. Furthermore, to allow DIUC to keep revenue is designated through rates to pay the federal corporate income tax expense it has not and will not ever incur is a violation of the matching principle and results in rates that are not just and reasonable. Mr. Hunnell has many more examples of errors in the company's submittal. Because of citizens' observation, the Commission should require additional studies by independent registered professional engineer regarding the sewer, water lines, and lift stations. Leaking or broken equipment results in additional and unnecessary expenses for the utility that, if not corrected, will be passed on to the ratepayer. The utility has not done an adequate job of communicating the status of the system with its residents. The Commission should require monthly public updates and reporting regarding the findings of this proceeding, as well as the status and schedule of reports and repairs to the system. Public hearings twice a year should be required, giving residents and the company an opportunity to explain and raise issues regarding the utility's operation. This concludes my testimony. I plan to submit more written detailed comments prior to the Commission's public hearing. I would like to thank the staff of South Carolina Public Service Commission for their work and hope the Commission takes their findings seriously and rejects the utility submission and requires them to refile. Thank you very much.
Mr. Smith, thank you for your testimony. May I just get clarification? You indicated that you're Vice President of Melrose. I'm not sure what association. Could you give me your title again?
Yes, it's the Melrose Cottage Owners Association.
Cottage Owners.
Yes, MCOA.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me see if anybody has questions. Counsel for any of the parties, any questions for Mr. Smith?
No questions from ORS, Madam Chair.
Is there a clarification you would like to make?
I would like to make a clarification. The testimony that I believe the witness referring to from Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Hunnell, Ms. McGlone, and Mr. Herpel, that would be testimony that the Office of Regulatory Staff pre-filed in the case.
Thank you. Counsel, any further questions? Commissioners, questions for Mr. Smith? Mr. Smith, thank you very much. We appreciate your testimony. You can tell that you had prepared very well because you got through it very, very well. So thank you very much. And we appreciate your patience with us this morning as you've been on hold a little bit. Thank you very much. You may stand down, you may continue to listen, or you may leave at your pleasure. Mr. Bachman.
Our next witness is Dr. Wallace Watson. Dr. Watson, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning, sir. If you would please affirm that the testimony you're about to give represents the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Correct. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Watson. Will you please give the Commission your name, your street name, but not your complete address, and whether you are a Daufuskie Island Utility Company customer?
Yes, my name is Wallace Watson, and I am on Forest Lake Drive, Daufuskie Island, South Carolina.
Thank you, sir. Will you confirm that you are a Daufuskie Island Utility Company customer?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. You may begin your testimony. You will have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to allow me to speak before the Commission. I would just like to say I have a few points. One is quality, conservation, fair return on investment, and the availability and customer service. All of these areas are of concern to me. I'll start out first with the quality. As I pointed out in a letter that I sent to the Commission, there was a change in the quality a few years ago, necessitating me to get a purification system for my water in my home. I did not investigate, I must admit, what the materials were, but it was a precipitate, and that has disappeared since I've had my water treated. The issue of quality is also the fact that we have no idea what the constituents are in our water. The reports, I haven't seen a report in over 2 years from the DIUC, even though I've requested them. I was told that the DIUC water conforms to the regulations, whatever they happen to be. And in my other jurisdiction at home, I get a report every year of what constituents are tested for, such as barium, fluoride, nitrates, etc. We get none of that at Hague Point from DIUC. As far as the environment is concerned, there has been no attempt to educate or begin to plan for the inevitable saltwater intrusion, which is going to occur to the aquifer that we have now. And one of the test wells on the island is already showing some salinity, and that is a concern which we are going to have to deal with. And that gets me to my next point, which is water conservation. That the billing system that we have at Hague Point and on Daufuskie is one of very high fixed cost with virtually very small cost with respect to consumption. I pay between 7 and 10 cents a gallon for water because I'm a low consumer of water and very careful with what I use. And therefore, I think that that is something which, with the high cost of the fixed assets and the low expense for consumption, discourages the conservation of water. And that is something that we are going to need to do, as for my previous point with respect to saltwater intrusion and conservation. The availability became front and center, not only because of poor customer service that I have had to go to actually to visit the office to settle a bill because they couldn't do it over the phone. And then every time I call, and I say every time I call, I have to leave a voicemail, and I may get a call returned to me with respect to an issue anywhere between 4 and 24 to 48 hours, which is unacceptable. And finally, the availability. A notice came out on September the 29th, just before Hurricane Ian passed by, informing us that we were not going to have any water available because they were not going to be able to service us. And there's no real reason for that I can understand. There should be. I installed a generator after Matthew, and then find out that I'm not going to be able to have any water is also unacceptable. So those are the points that I'd like to make up, that they're not providing the service. It's expensive, and I think that this should be looked at by the Public Services Commission, which is supposed to be dealing with conservation as being one of the main issues, and certainly the way DIUC has presented itself in its billing is unique because there are other utility company that they're servicing Kiowa Island has the more normal basic fee structure, and then the charges are primarily for consumption. So thank you very much for your time.
Dr. Wallace, thank you for your testimony. Let me go through the parties and commissioners to see if there are questions. Any questions from council for any party? Hearing none. Commissioners, questions for Dr. Watson?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Caston.
Good morning, Dr. Watson. Thank you for sharing your comments and thoughts this morning. Can you hear me okay, Dr. Watson?
Yes, I can.
DHEC requires a consumer confidence report, better known as a CCR. And I honestly don't remember the specifics based on the system size, but are you saying you have received no consumer confidence report or no water quality information in over 2 years? Is that what I heard you say?
That's correct.
And have you requested it or gone on their website to see if it's available?
I can't remember. I think I did at one point, but I did call the office, and I was just reassured that the quality of the water was whatever the government regulations were.
Do you know, by any chance, how deep a well or what aquifer the system is pumping from?
I'm not sure. I think it's the Floridan aquifer, I believe, but I'm not sure. I think there is one, a more shallow one, but I'm not sure which one it is that, in fact, we are using. To me, it doesn't really matter which aquifer it's using because my concern is the consumption of water itself and the fact that a lot of water is being wasted. And I come from a jurisdiction which has been very conscious of conservation of water, and incidentally get a mailed report, or at least a printed report every year of the water quality and what they've tested for, which I have not seen from DIUC.
If you don't mind sharing, where did you come from?
Boston and Toronto, Canada. So both those jurisdictions.
You like cold weather, I see.
Pardon?
I said, you must like cold weather. I love both of those cities, beautiful cities, but I only visit in summer.
Well, yes, I'm getting to where I think warmer weather is more comfortable. Thank you, sir.
I understand. Thank you so much for your comments. I appreciate it.
Commissioners, further questions for Dr. Watson?
One follow-up, if I may, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Caston?
I'm sorry. Dr. Watson, earlier I thought I heard you reference Kiowa Island or the Kiowa Island utility. Did I understand you to reference them?
Yes, I did. That was on the basis of the rate structure, which is that they have a relatively, compared to us, is certainly a much smaller, quote, availability fee or whatever they want to call it, and that the primary portion of the bill is in the actual water consumption. So it's so many gallons of water that they use, the higher they get. On the DIUC structure, it doesn't really matter. That you get 22,000 gallons in your base rate, if I remember correctly. And if you don't use that, that's fine. But then if you go over it, the amount that you get paid is minuscule compared to your base rate. So I paid, I think, last month $400 for 5,000 gallons of water. So that certainly discourages, and it should be a very low fixed rate, relatively speaking, and that the cost per gallon that one uses should be considerably higher. That's the structure that most utilities work on, and certainly Kiowa Island works on the same structure. The Daufuskie Island is different. It has a high structure, high fixed availability. I think it's 100 and something a month or whatever it happened. I don't have it right in front of me because I'm not in my home, but and that's one of my major concerns.
All right, so you were referencing Kiowa Island just for comparison only. I mean, you understand that the same utility does not operate Kiowa Island, correct?
Gustella is the one that manages Kiowa, as I understand it, because when you call their phone number, they say press 1 for Kiowa, press 2 for Hague Point, and that's so that I presume that they're doing the both.
Okay. Well, thank you, sir, for testimony.
Thank you.
Commissioners, further questions? Dr. Watson, I have a question regarding the notice on September 29th before Hurricane Ian. What was the reasoning given for advising customers they would have no water available?
Well, just a minute. I'll just pull that up. It just says it was actually went out and on September 29th at 12:08. Subject a message from DIUC storm notice to all customers that have decided to remain on the island in the event of a significant power outage. DIUC asks that all customers restrict their water usage to prevent sewage discharge. If your home is equipped with a generator, please do not use any appliances that require water. DIUC has already implemented emergency procedures and is actively communicating with local emergency services and closely monitoring the incoming storm. That means we will not have water or sewage should there be a power failure on the island.
Okay, that was noticed in case the power went out. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you very much for clarifying. Commissioners, is there anything further for Dr. Watson? Dr. Watson, thank you for your time this morning. We appreciate your testimony and just appreciate you being involved in the process, but thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
You may stand down, and I think you're our last witness, so you may leave or continue to listen for the end of the hearing at your pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bachman, does that conclude our witness list?
Confirming that we have concluded the witness list. Yes, Chair.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will,
Madam Chair, I have a question, just housekeeping purposes. My understanding is nobody signed up for the 4 o'clock public hearing today, and nobody signed up for the October 17th hearing. Am I correct?
That's correct. We have not had any. we only had 5 witnesses that signed up, so I believe that the other hearings will, certainly today will be canceled, but I believe the other hearings are canceled. I'll ask that the clerk's office circulate something with the parties to confirm.
Thank you, Madam
Confirm
Chair.
that. Thank you for bringing that up. With that, we will conclude today's customer public hearing. We have the mayor. I don't like to call it the merits hearing, but we have the hearing where the parties will present their evidence later this month. And I apologize, I don't think I brought my notice with me to give that date, but we will see y'all at that time. Thank you all for attending, and with that, we close today's customer public hearing. Thank you.